Hey parents, happy Monday, and we are going to look at the next chapter, which is called Cliche Christianity. He defines cliche in a couple ways. It's a trite expression or idea that becomes meaningless with overuse. Also applies to words or actions that lose their punch or impact as a result of having no substantive, I hope I said that right, connection to the bigger and more serious context in which they appear. He says later, in Christian homes, many of the religious ideas, biblical information, and acts of service we are involved in can become mundane and routine. So what he's addressing in this chapter is when Christianity, when the things of God, when Bible, church, the things like that, become so much a part of a kid's life that they, instead of investing in authentic relationship with Christ, instead it just kind of becomes background noise for them. And he actually spends a good portion of this chapter talking about Christian schools. And I teach with you or talk with you today wearing a BCS Panthers t-shirt. So my kids go to private school and go to a Christian school, and we love the school. Our administration is great. Our administrators go here. We have teachers here from BCS. So I really had to do some hard thinking as I was reading and refreshing myself on this chapter. And so where he's going with this is not necessarily that Christian schools are evil and Christian schools cause our kids to rebel. The disconnect comes when we as parents view the Christian school as the be-all, end-all for our kids' spiritual walk. When we are depending on the school not for education, but for the soul spiritual development for our kids. When we either let the Christian school replace our parenting responsibility or the church's responsibility for raising kids to love Christ. And so as I was reading it, it was hard because as my kids have gotten older, I see and they see a whole lot of this within their school. And again, I don't think this is BCS specific, but this author was not writing about BCS. He was writing about Christian schools in general. So I think it's a general thing. And so I wanted to address this because I know a lot of our families attend private school. I know I've had conversations with lots of families who are in public school who say, oh, I just wish my kids could. And so whichever one of those perspectives you're coming from, I think he provides some really, really good thoughts here. He says the purpose of a Christian school is to provide your child with a comprehensive education against the backdrop of a Christian worldview. You cannot subcontract your role as a parent, nor should it take the place of your local church. To have such expectations is irresponsible Christian parenting and leaves the door open for rebellion. Parents who feel they can let their guards down simply because their children are in Christian schools set their children up for a toxic spiritual apathy that can only lead to their defeat. So where does that spiritual apathy come from? Ignore the construction noise in the background. It just comes from becoming over-familiar with the Bible when it's part of every part of class during the day, when prayer is a consistent part of class during the day. And those things aren't bad. It's just, again, when it becomes background noise to the kids, which that can happen if we are not seeking and pushing them towards an authentic relationship with Christ outside of class. He suggests a few things that I really liked. He talks about how he went to a Christian college and found himself in that place of apathy where it's just, another Bible study, another conversation about God, whatever. And he talked about, number one, helping kids be able to process what they hear about the Bible by asking themselves two questions. So what? What does that mean for me? And now what? What should I do because I've heard that? And that's super simple, but that's something that we can model at home. When we talk about the Bible, when we read a passage together, when we are doing our own Bible study, maybe talk that out with the kids that, okay, this is what this is what I learned, this is what I read. So what? What does that mean in my life? And now what? What do I do with that? Second, he talked about developing relationships with people outside of that Christian bubble. And I think this is so important, whether it's through sports or through other outside activities or within the neighborhood, making sure that your family is connected with families that are different than yours. I know that opens up a whole world of but what ifs and what if they teach my kid all these bad things. The point is our kids need to be in those situations so that their faith can be tested and grown in real live situations. Us just handing them the answers at a Christian school or in Sunday school or wherever else, that's not really a faith that they're owning. That's just a faith that they have in their head. But when they have to sit down and have a hard conversation with a kid who believes something different, or when they're in the neighborhood and a kid asks them to do something they know they're not supposed to do, that's when their faith becomes action. And as much as we want to protect them from those things, that's not helping their faith in the long run. The other thing he mentioned, which I really liked, was helping them find and pursue a passion. Our faith becomes more real when we're putting feet to it. I remember Kaylee several years ago really developed a passion and concern for the homeless in the community. And so over the years, especially as we formed a partnership with Downtown Ministries, I've tried to find opportunities for her to plug into that, because she is that Christian school kid, and it'd be so easy for her to just let it all become default. And I see that in her sometimes. And so she needs the stretching experiences, whether it's working with the homeless or going on a mission trip or whatever, fill in the blank. I know that she needs that. I know that she needs that to help her faith become more than just what happens right after math class. I also really like the suggestions that he offers at the end. If you have your child in a Christian school, he says make sure, again, that it never takes the place of the church. Make sure that they are active and contributing members of their youth group or of their children's ministry. Help them to serve others. Help them not to have a judgmental or critical spirit about those who are outside of church or outside of the Christian school. And moms and dads, we have to really watch that as well. So I can't wait to hear your comments about this. I can't wait. This is not going to be an argument or a conversation about if public school is evil, if Christian school is the best thing ever, or if it's evil. I just want to hear perspectives this week. And so more importantly, how can we protect kids from making Christianity a cliche? How can we help them actively pursue an authentic relationship with Christ? And how can we model that as parents? Look forward to the conversation. Have a great day. Bye-bye.